What's going on, everybody? Welcome to BMT. I'm asking you guys right now to like the video, share the video. We have some really good information that we're going to be dropping that's literally going to help you. And I really mean just going to help you with your rent, with your mortgage, as well as things to know about what's going on out there in the world that actually will keep you informed. We're here today with, of course, always one of my special guests, as well as a mod in my channel, Carol. And she always goes in and helps break down the veins of humanity that we probably need to start connecting on. I'm your host, BMT, sitting over here on the left. Hello. And I actually like to have a conversation with you guys. Hang on, come join us. Can't text and type at the same time. But we definitely need to have a conversation on a lot of things that have been going on and that we need to start holding accountability for. I'm having a panel discussion on things that we could possibly build on that we actually need to actually hold accountability for. This is not something that's going to be just a black thing, but a humanity as well as a thing of the people. We have to start actioning and addressing the issues that are going on. And if we don't start going after them and actually start building on them, we're going to keep on falling short. And I wanted to start off with that because a lot of things, and I'm also going to be showing some pretty dastardly content. I know normally a lot of people would want to, what's going on? Hello. I know a lot of people would normally want to look at stuff and overlook things, and we have a lot of things that we need to talk about, especially when it comes to medical. It comes to the state of what's going on with the nation. There's a lot of stuff afoot that is happening, and we definitely need to talk about that. So one of the biggest things is people having a place to stay right now. I know some people are feeling it right now, especially with their mortgages, their rent, getting a shift of hours and payment and stuff. But I wanted to actually sit down with you guys, and I will be dropping the links in below. Carol, let me know if you're there. But I actually wanted to go in and talk about something that was shared to me by someone. So let me go in and actually showcase this right here. Now, what you're looking at real quick, and let me make sure I can showcase this real quick. This is the Federal Register. Federal Register, temporary halt on residential evictions to prevent further spread of COVID. Now, this is very interesting because they're telling people that, listen, we're going to have to start putting a halt on evicting people because we don't know what they could be carrying in and out their homes. We don't know what they have going on. We don't know if they had what kind of symptoms that they had going about. But we're going to have to slow down the eviction process. I'm a little bit mixed feelings about this. One, as a property owner, because I feel like some people can take advantage of the system, but also I understand that sometimes it's getting pretty hard. Now, this is coming out, and it says the order is effective September 4th, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. So, and we have a lot that we need to actually go in at and actually go over. So I want to get at that. Hold on. Anyway, I got something going on right now.
The father of a 19-year-old shot and killed inside Seattle's Capitol Hill organized protest zone, or the CHOP, is suing for $3 billion in damages.
Okay, there we go. Let me go ahead and mute that really quick. But we have it where as to, there we go. I wanted to be able to, I had to mute that real quick. I am going to show that. But let me get back to what I was trying to show you guys. So, for a lot of people coming on in, something crazy, something's happening right now where they don't want people to be getting evicted out of the homes to literally to spread the concern of COVID. Now, we understand that people can't work. People can't flourish. People can't do a lot of things. However, they've been opening up the state, but they don't want people to get evicted. I'm at a mixed feelings because for people who are property owners, they renting out homes and stuff, and if people aren't paying and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, how would that affect them? Especially if the people cannot be evicted or they can't be held accountable. This is going to cause quite an issue with a lot of owners because they're going to be like, hold up. If this person, if I can't actually charge them or kick them out and put somebody in that can pay, how does that help me? That's something that we have to really take into account. I mean, I get that we're supposed to have some type of humane, plausible feeling about it, but I also have to ask the question. I thought no evictions were allowed during Rona. Bad for landlords, good for tenants with the reduced work hours. No, I get what you're saying. So, like, yeah, like for landlords, that means like, yo, like if I got a tenant that don't want to pay, I get it. Everybody's hurting. But also, this is also part of our business is that, I can't really hold you accountable like I want to. And we're going to have some people that are going to take advantage of the system and they're not going to pay full rent. But how does that affect me? Because if the bills are still coming through, what am I supposed to do? So that's going to be pretty bothersome because we're going to have it where a lot of people are going to want to hold certain people accountable, but they can't. So where do we go from here? Is Trump trying to tell the middleman how he needs to operate and hold and run his business or his properties? Can the government do that? And if the government's gaining that type of power, then that means then us as the people, we really don't have much sway. But I also understand the humanitarian thing of trying to curb the Rona, but people are still going out. They're still going to work. They're still doing X, Y, and Z. So how are you really stopping the spread if people are still moving about all over, man? What's going on, BK? What's going on, Saul? What's going to be Black T? Landlords can't cover the mortgage long term. It's like you can't win. You can't win. So that's going to put me, a landlord, in a pickle because I'm like, yo, if you're not going to pay, if you're not going to be held accountable, then I'm kind of screwed. And I don't agree with that. I really don't. Shout out to Black T. He says lobby for compensation. I mean, we can possibly do that. I mean, if there's a compensation that they're offering to give out, then I would say, okay, that's fine. But literally, where it's saying right here, declaration under penalty of perjury for Centers of Disease Control. The declaration is for tenants. This declaration is for tenants, leases, or residents of residential properties who are covered by the CDC's order temporarily halting residential evictions, not including foreclosures on home and mortgages. So, to prevent the further spread of COVID-19 under the CDC order, you must provide a copy of this declaration to your landlord, owner of the residential property where you live. So if you present a copy of this to your landlord, by law, they now have to uphold this. Under the CDC's order, you must provide a copy of this declaration to your landlord, owner of the residential property. The owner, so if you're renting or you're a tenant, you're leasing, all you got to do is show this paper. And this is going to cause a lot of problems in the courtroom. This is where you're going to start hearing the government is trying to run me, run my business, run my property. Who has the right, okay, owner of the residential property where you live, or the other person who has the right to have you, me, that would be, I normally would have the right to have you evicted or removed from where you live, each adult listed on the lease. So I want you to know, if you're on the lease, they cannot evict you. Now that would normally mean you, your children, or if you have an animal, unless the animal's breaking some type of law or code, they can't evict you. Now, if you moved in there and you got a friend staying there or somebody, they can kick them out, but they can't kick you out. Now, this is up to December the 31st. That's how long this paper lasts. So I'm going to make sure I drop this in the chat. You can also find it in the description box. Copy. Let me make sure I drop this in the chat. So I want you to understand, this is a pretty powerful paper. That's a pretty powerful paper. We don't know how it's going to pan out, man. We really don't know, because honestly, I feel like that's kind of infringing on my rights as a person. I'm just being honest, man. I'm really being honest that literally feels like it's infringing on my rights of my business, my property. It's like I don't have any say. Or maybe I'm overlooking that. Because a paper like that is telling me what I can and can't do. We're also joined here by the co-host, attorney Nichelle. Nichelle.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings. I just read off a legal document, and it is a legal document by the CDC and also by the man upstairs himself. A declaration, as it is.
Hey, get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Hold on 1 second.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground, man.
Okay, go ahead.
So, literally a declaration under penalty or perjury for the Centers of the CDC, that literally, if you just present this declaration to the owner, this declaration is for tenants, lessees, and residents of residential properties are covered by the CDC's order temporarily halting the residential evictions, not including foreclosures on home mortgages, to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Under the CDC's order, you must provide a copy of this declaration to your landlord, owner, or residential property where you live, or other persons listed on the lease, rental agreement, or housing contract should contract should complete these declarations under the CDC's order is extended, changed, or ended. The order prevents you from being evicted or removed from where you are living through December 31st. You still are required to pay and follow all other terms of your lease and rules of the place where you live. You may also still be evicted for reasons other than not paying rent. So you can be evicted for other reasons. So, or making a housing payment, or making a house payment. This declaration is sworn testimony, meaning that you can be prosecuted, go to jail, or pay a fine if you lie, mislead, or omit important information. I certify under perjury under 28 USC 1749 that the foregoing are true and correct. That was signed by President Trump. Your thoughts?
You know, one of the things that I am torn between is that a lot of people, they depend on that rental income for their own livelihood. And I do feel sorry for them. But at the end of the day, we do have a worldwide pandemic. I know a lot of people are having trouble understanding that. This is a disease that we don't understand. This disease is, even if you don't have any symptoms, it can inflame your heart. So with that in mind, the likelihood if landlords are throwing people out or could have the potential to throw people out, because a lot of people can't work right now, it does not alleviate them of their obligation to pay the debt. So say this one more time. People, just because you can't get evicted until December does not mean they cannot track you down and get the money that you owe them. Landlords, I understand that a lot of these people you rent to, even if you track them down, they may not have anything.
Please meet up.
They may not have a way to pay you back. But this is an unusual circumstances where people are going to have to come together. Now, renters, if you have some money to pay your landlord, even though they can't evict you, you know, don't sit up there and be I'm trying to think of the right word. I don't want to say asshole on the air, but that's the best way to describe it. If you have some money to pay what you can.
I'm gonna call them
Get caught up when you can.
I would call them a smarter.
Yes. This is not a, oh, now you can go out and buy that new TV since you don't have to pay your rent. It is your landlord is being empathetic, and you need to be empathetic to your landlord. They need someone.
Not by choice, we're being empathetic. We were being forced to be empathetic. I'm very mixed feelings about this, because Michelle and Yori, a lot of y'all know I have property.
Right.
I know some people. I'm not saying I've already, thank God that before this paper came, I've already took care of my people. But I know it's gonna be the minute this holy, unholy doctrine comes out, they're gonna be like, nah, the boo, I don't have to pay you, and I would be like.
But for the landlords that have tenants like that, understand that it only helps the tenant out if the reason for eviction is non-payment of rent. Now, if the tenant is breaking any other part of the lease, playing music too loud, having too many guests, we can go down the list of all kinds of things that you could evict a tenant for. You can still do those things.
Somebody brought up, but the bank still gets to foreclose. The bank should not be charging the landlord. Listen, man, I know, I get it. I'm about to pass it over to Yori.
Well, that's true, but the banks never care about the landlord or the owner of the house anyway. We learned that in 2010 or 2009, whenever that was. You know, they refused. I mean, I was dealing with people, even in my own neighborhood, that you know they were. God, I hate even talking about this, but they were okay in terms of paying their rent or paying the mortgage every month. And when it came to renegotiating the loan, because the loan was underwater compared to what they bought it for, because a lot of people bought properties 3 to 4 months before the housing market died, and so they're sitting on a $500 note with a $350,000 value being underwater 150,000, and they're like, hey man, like let's renegotiate this because you guys took the money when the value was different. Now I want to renegotiate it. And so what the banks did was they said, all right, like we'll renegotiate it for you, but we're only allowed to use TARP funds for properties that are delinquent. So you have to be 60 to 90 days delinquent. So they purposely went delinquent because that's what the bank told them to do. And then when they went to go renegotiate the issue, they're like, oh, well, we got different directives. So now what we can do is we can short sale you and basically not foreclose on you. So short sale is a little bit easier on credit. So those people got forced into short sales. And what the banks did is they took the assets, basically wiped it off the books, doing whatever financial engineering they did, and they just resell it and make money again. So to be honest, there is no such thing as banks ever being good to homeowners, regardless of whether they're homeowners or landlords. The bank is only caring about the bottom line for the bank. And that's exactly how this one's going to turn out too.
I agree.
I had people coming to me and basically telling me, but we did what they told us to do. I said, I know. And that's all you can tell them because, they've already got the directive to go short sale or, foreclose. They were saying, hey, like, and it was weird because I had people calling me crying, telling me, hey, like they said, if we're good to them, that they'll give us a short sale, but I don't know what to tell my kids. I don't know what to tell my family.
It be like that.
What you gonna tell people like that, bro?
I think honestly, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, the banks have been doing them for a long. The banks been off. They don't operate how we operate.
Yeah,
they're in a whole different system, a system that will never stop feeding. It has to feed on something, and so, I usually like all you can do these days, especially because everybody ain't really working like that, and they're not really making money. So, we're definitely the vice grip is gonna be tightening up more and more around our necks, and we're all just choking trying to breathe or find some type of air. Like I'm not gonna lie, this kind of scares me because I'm supposed to be fixing up another property, but I don't want to be put in a situation that's very compromising where, oh snap, like, we're doing our information due diligence on our power and sharing this with people. But we also know that there's going to be some people that are going to take advantage of this and some people who do need this at the end of the day. So I will tell you this from landlord and tenants. Tenants, use the paper, pay what you can, as much as you can, but also remember in the back of your mind, and this is towards the landlords, they can accumulate that cost up.
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to understand that. You got Iori who's in business, Michelle who's a lawyer. Don't think that as a landlord, I won't accrue that cost.
Sure.
Come that December the 31st, before New Year's, I will knock at that door. And I will pull out that paper saying, listen, come this time around 12 o'clock p.m. before my office closes, you better have that money. Again, the paperwork, and shout out to everyone who's coming on into the chat. Again, for anybody who needs to know, this paper right here is signed by President Donald J. Trump. This is the Federal Register. This is the Federal Register. The paperwork is pretty much for temporary halt on residential evictions to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Share this with yourselves, your parents, your loved ones, people. I want y'all to share it around. This is something enacted by the CDC. Yes, they can do that. They can enact this paper. This is gonna very much change people around the whole U.S. and how they feel about stuff. So this is definitely going to be a game changer. You have to doggone copy this document. You can copy it in a PDF file at the local library. Copy it, and literally, if you present it towards your landlord, it only is going to last you to December the 31st. So, I want you to understand.
This is delaying the inevitable for the greater good.
Yeah.
So understand that. It is delaying the inevitable. At the end of the day, if you cannot afford to stay at your current residence, this is the time to renegotiate. Get in your landlord's good graces so that you can be in a position. The pandemic is here. I mean, the fall wave will probably be very devastating.
Yeah.
What you can do, I mean, they don't want families out on the street during the winter months.
Well, it's coming.
They
Actually,
don't want them out there.
to be fair, Nichelle, that's another thing. By law up north, you can't evict a family in the wintertime, depending on the weather. Like if it's like, mind you, and it's getting pretty bad with the weather, what we can see. So literally, holy crap, you would be stuck with that family all the way to the spring.
Yes. Yes.
God damn, you will never get rid of those people.
That's what I'm trying to get landlords and tenants to understand. That in the places where they have the most extreme climate, don't think that this order cannot be extended. If you are a landlord, you must consider those material facts that we are heading into the winter months where you can't conceivably be able to evict people out into the freezing weather without adverse consequences. I mean, if the word gets out that apartment complexes are evicting people because when it's like below freezing, snow on the ground, that's a PR nightmare. You can't hide that.
Oh boy.
So I don't want landlords to sit there and go, yay, coming December, I can evict these people. No, you got another set of laws you're going to have to deal with then.
And that's a big law. That would be
They're just what they're really doing is they're just delaying this now to figure out what they need to do for January. It's a stopgap measure for the greater good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just be very mindful. Like I said, we're all of us up here. Me, Nichelle, and Iori, we know we sit in these fields to let y'all know about the currency, the market, and the real estate market of business. I'm telling you right now, that's why I said I didn't have to bring up about the winter, but I know in certain places, depending on the weather, they cannot kick you out because literally that's inhumane. And literally, some people, y'all know that if they call the police, if you were to shut off a family's heat in certain weather, you would go to jail. That police would come, turn that heat back on, and lock your behind up, and you'll be keeping warm in that county jail. Trying to let y'all know, man, being a landlord or being an owner is not easy. So when y'all think, oh, when I become this, or we have certain guidelines that we get. And like I said, but I also understand that it's a double-edged sword. So I want to definitely move on to the next article, and I thank you guys for coming on through. This is something that is greatly fluctuated through, and it's coming down the pipe. Thank you for everybody that's coming on in. We got 66. We got 61 in the chat. Please share the video, like the video, share your thoughts about what you think about the video. But now we're going to hit on something that is very interesting, that is definitely going to change the pretty much the state or the nation. I would have heard but knock this out the way, especially for what's going on, because I feel like this is a pretty drastic one to overlook, and I really want to get this one out the way. So, how much do y'all think somebody can sue a state for? How much? Any guess? Any takers?
70
I mean,
mil?
unless the state has waived their right, it depends. If the state has, with the 11th Amendment, the states are immune from suit unless they consent. The states are immune from lawsuits unless they have expressly consented. And depending on which state you live in, that is going to determine how much you could potentially sue the state for and have the taxpayers pay you back. Because that's one of the issues. The state doesn't have any money. It's the taxpayers that are going to have to pay.
So this is going to be a very sticky one. Father of man killed inside of Seattle's chop zone files $3 billion in claims against city, county, and state. My gosh, that might be the most hated family that might ever be in humanity right now. $3 billion. Holy crap. Could y'all imagine that? That would be the biggest lawsuit against a state ever. The claim alleged the actions and inactions by the city, county, land, state government are responsible for the death of his son, 19-year-old Horace Lorenzo Anderson. Okay. So the father of the man, right? The father of the man shot and killed inside Seattle's Capitol Hill zone, organized protests, also known as Chop Zone. And we're gonna go over the Chop Zone. Has anybody ever heard of the Chop Zone?
No.
No.
Nobody's heard.
Yes. Yes.
And you know what the
Most
Chop
definitely heard of CHOP. Yes.
Trust and believe, Chicago don't got nothing on the Chop Zone right now. The Chop Zone, they in their own league.
Oh, it's the organized protest zone.
They're their own league of what they want to be. But we got to understand these things are happening. So, Zone in June has filed 3 claims against local government amounting to $3 billion. Horace Anderson, the father of a 19-year-old Horace Lorenzo Anderson, filed claims Thursday against the city of Seattle, King County, and Washington State over the death of his son inside the Chop Zone. I mean, god dang, man, that's okay. We should be throwing all kind of babies at these states. Now, in looking at this, the claim alleged that the actions and inactions by the local government are responsible for creating a hazardous, and lawless situation that resulted in the man's death. According to a statement released by the Ocean and Association PC, the law firm representing Anderson, it is important to hold our government leaders accountable so this will not happen again. Good luck.
Man.
Well, that was a good one. The attorney Evan O'Shawn, in prepared statement, those in position of power, Carol, this is your field right here, must not be allowed to hide from their duty to act responsibly and protect citizens. With powers and prestige comes responsibility. Anderson was one of the two people shot inside the former protest zone during the early morning hours of June 20. Bystanders took Anderson to Harbor View Medical Center, where he died. According to Seattle city officials, at the time, Seattle Fire Department medics responded and were awaiting Seattle's police to secure the scene before going into the chop. Now, okay, let me finish up. Which is standard procedure for the fire department. Seattle police arrived about 2:28 a.m. But they reported that the crowd prevented them from getting inside the chop zone. Now, Carol, are you there? Are you there, Carol? Okay, I'm not sure she's there. Now, I want you to understand the chop zone is very, very sticky. It's a very sticky place. The chop zone is a protest zone, but also a lawless zone. There is no police there. The people run the chop zone. This is, I kid you not. It is their world. This is the world where God does not go. This is the world where Antifa and all other movements and factions, they get to play. It's like where if Mad Max had to have a place, that's their aid station right there. Why do we have to keep telling you Black Lives Matter? That is in the chop zone. Like literally, this is some type of, I don't even know what to call. Like, I would not. Carol, go ahead. What's your perception on the chop zone and somebody who dies in there? They want $3 billion. Is that fair? Is that just? No good cops, no bad protesters, no justice, no peace, no cops, no problem. Welcome to Chaz. And literally, it is just like that. I don't even understand how that world works, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so what this is this is the beginning. This is the beginning of a takeover of country. And it is a movement that was designed, back in the early communism days. And their goal is to basically cause lawlessness, to get rid of police, basically to take over and destroy the government and destroy our ability as citizens in this country to be able to live and freely buy, sell, trade, and survive in this country.
Okay, I got you. And
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna come in and read this case. Joe, if you want to, I just sent it to you.
I'm pulling it up for you right now, dear. Got you. Come on.
Well settled that the United States, also the states, as a sovereign entity, is immune from suit unless it consents to be sued. Well settled that you cannot sue the government. The FTCA waives the sovereign immunity of the United States and grants the federal district courts exclusive jurisdiction over damages claims against the United States arising out of injuries caused by the negligence or wrongful act or omission of any employee of the government. while acting within the scope of his office or employment. Remember the word scope. Where the FTCA applies, the government may be liable for certain torts in the same manner and in the same extent as a private individual. However, the United States may condition this waiver of sovereign immunity as broadly or narrowly as it wishes, and according to whatever terms it chooses. So you can't go into court and say, I want to sue for $1 billion, unless the government gives you the permission to sue for that amount.
Yeah.
It applies for the federal government as well as to the state governments based on the 11th Amendment. So this article gets headlines, and maybe it will shame some government officers into making a settlement. But the real issue is, was the government employee acting within the scope of his duties? If not, the government is not liable.
So let me go ahead and play this. And we also had it where Salvi in the chat, shout out to you. She says that she lives an hour from there. And that she says that CHOP was shut down a few months ago. That they shut it down. And I'm not gonna lie, she also says a few people were disappearing in that zone. I mean, y'all gotta understand, man. Take it from me, you black person. Listen, Mama always said, Mama and Daddy and all of them said, listen, at nighttime, the park is a different place. Stay out of the park at nighttime. We only had to see one dead kid early in the morning on our way to school, mangled, to get the message that we all remembered: stay away from the park at night. It is a lawless place. It's that simple. I know y'all like hearing it, but don't go where you're not. I'm not going to go somewhere where there's no protection. I'm just not. There's too much of the unknown. Like, I just won't go there. I don't care. If somebody says the police are not allowed there, I don't need to go there. If they say certain types of service officials are not allowed there to do their job, why would I go there? That just sounds like chaos.
They basically said, enter at your own risk.
Huge.
Sure.
So I'm gonna play this and I'm gonna pass it over to Yori after, so that way he can give his take. But $3 billion, my God, that's more than what the state pulls in. So I mean,
And that's what they want to do everywhere in this country. And then they want to take your gun on top of it.
yeah, good luck with that. Let's get it cracking.
The father of a 19-year-old shot and killed inside Seattle's Capitol Hill organized protest zone, or the CHOP, is
Hang
suing
on.
for
I think they're doing a
$3
commercial.
billion in damages. King 5's Britt Moore spoke with the attorney representing Lorenzo Anderson's father
Hold
about
on.
the message that
Let me get that correct.
Why do you feel three?
We're hearing the news.
Hang on. Y'all can hear it?
Yeah.
Yes,
We can hear
news.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I didn't know if y'all were hearing it. I had to go fix it. You know how I get when I'm like, okay, let me make sure I get it right.
We got the news.
All right.
The father of a 19-year-old
Why do I keep getting commercials? Are y'all getting? Are y'all sure y'all getting?
We'll
No,
scream
we're
if we
not-
are.
We're not getting any commercials.
Okay, now
good.
you're not
We're
getting.
with the news article. Keep it
I
going.
had it, but I did it wrong. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and fix that portion for y'all. Let me go ahead and get that. I do apologize. All right. Let me fix that. Okay. There you go. Now can y'all see?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's begin.
Damages. King 5's Britt Moore spoke with the attorney
Unbelievable.
representing Lorenzo Anderson's father about the message that he's
Unbelievable. Why am I getting?
Why do you feel
Skip the ad, bro.
it's an appropriate ask?
Well, it's not the money that is the issue here. There needs to be a message. Attorney Evan O'Shan is representing Horace Anderson, the father of 19-year-old Horace Lorenzo Anderson.
Get your vehicle and go.
Lorenzo was shot and killed in the CHOP zone in June. I asked O'Shan who he thinks is to blame for Anderson's death.
Well, that's what we're hoping the discovery process will tell us. What I do know is that there was a police precinct that was given up. What I do know is that EMS did not come and take care of Lorenzo as he lay bleeding. This was a totally lawless situation. It put him in great danger, and it was just wrong.
Horace Anderson is seeking $1 billion each from the city of Seattle, King County, and Washington State. The city's Finance and Administrative Services Department confirms it received the claim but was not able to comment. The claims filed suggest that, quote, the actions and inactions by the city of Seattle, County of King, and state of Washington are directly responsible for creating a hazardous and lawless situation that resulted in the shooting death of his son. Anderson's mother filed a separate wrongful death lawsuit in July. Earlier this month, murder charges were filed against the man accused of killing him inside the CHOP. The suspect, Marcel.
Why did it be black?
The thing that we really need to focus on is that there was an individual who lost his life unnecessarily, and it was predictable, it was preventable, and this should have never happened.
Britt Moore, King 5 News.
I want y'all to understand. Listen, man. Like, look, and I'm gonna tell y'all, like, even in Chicago, and I hate bringing up that place, they have certain areas of no cop zones. Y'all ever heard of no cop zones, or where cops just don't go?
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can try to go in there. It's hard. It's going to always be an outnumber of 2 to 8 every ratio time. Like you have to go in there with a squad to effectively administer justice. If you got to go serve a warrant, or you got to go in there tactically prepared. We cannot, like, you got to understand, man. Like I can be saying defund the police. But these things, and one of the things about it, what happened where some brothers came through. But so what happened was, in this zone, if you notice, there's no cops there. This is a place where they say screw social distancing. You're in the CHOP zone. It's pretty much whatever people want to do. Police not welcome. Community watch area. Like, they don't want the police.
Yeah, they don't want the police there.
Like, I wouldn't know why would you. What kind of parent? And I'm not trying. I'm sorry, but what kind of parent? And they keep saying Black Lives Matter, but I'm sorry, but when I look, no offense, but the ratio is 1 kid to like hundreds. So, I don't know what kind of zone that is. It looks like the business. If you like, look at the business. Look at the business. Like, I mean, Ori, what do you even make of this type of? That's like a second world country.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were talking about the whole COVID thing, whatever. Look, I know that people are thinking about things because of what's happening and whatever, but sometimes not going anywhere is the best move. In this situation with COVID, when you know people are falling down left and right and whatever, the issue with stuff like this is I'm a little bit more conservative in terms of whether I want to go out there and quote unquote protest, because here's the thing that you got to realize: even if you're right in terms of what you think you're protesting about, when you go out there and protest, like, people are not responsible for your safety.
Right.
people are not
Right.
responsible.
Can I push back to that?
Go ahead.
So a lot of the community that's been pressing for a long time, a lot of us are, if we are near cities, we are getting out of cities and getting away from cities. First and foremost, most people that I know, one of my friends actually got held up because they couldn't get onto their plot of land that they bought to be able to get their house up and running. That is their go-to bug out house. They have secured backups of power supplies and solar power. They've got water. They've got the ground perked. They've got their little bug out shelter built. And they, they're getting away from the cities because at this point with this pandemic, the cities, it's just this virus is not going to go anywhere. In the colder months, we will have a little bit of a drop because people are going to want to stay home more. They're going to see it spread. It's going to spread, especially with all of the fires and everything else that are going on. It's going to cause people to have problems breathing. So a lot of the people that are preppers are getting out of the cities. They're encouraging their friends and family and people that they have contact with to get out of the cities.
Right.
Right.
And that's a valid point.
That's a valid point. But going back to what I was saying, with everything that she said, being a part of the equation, like this is the time where I believe it's better to use a little bit of cautious restraint. Because the thing is, when you go into places like that where police are quote unquote not allowed and this, that, and the other, you can go there, but sometimes you're going there at your own risk. And it's
you have two different scenarios. You have people that are trying to abandon the cities and go to the rural areas, the rural areas in order to find refuge. Those areas may or may not be liable. That the thing about it is every state has their own rules on how the state is liable and how the city or counties could be liable.
Sure.
So if a huge surge of people move in without any intent of really staying there, they're just evacuating the area. Another area. What are the rights and duties and responsibilities of those that are forced to accept these new people that have come into their town? I mean, there are a lot of different arguments we have to consider. If you're moving out of the urban area into a suburban or rural area, what are their duties to protect you if you're only planning to be there temporarily? You're an evacuee.
Now, Nichelle, but Nichelle, these people at the CHOP, they're fighting for their independence and they have their own city and, they want to live their lives. I thought you'd be proud of them. This is what, at some communities they want to do and live on their own from the police and the scrutiny of the government, and they want their own freedom. Why aren't you proud of this type of people? Is this not what we should be marketing for?
No, we are a republic. The United States government is a republic. That the Constitution is supreme, and each state has a supreme constitution. So if you're within any state, you have to be mindful of the federal constitution and the state constitution. Now, if you want to go out and find a landfill somewhere and start your own laws and be recognized under the UN, that's fine. But understand that no matter what you may personally feel right now, there are laws of nations that are in effect. You have to operate under the laws of the nation, the laws of the United States, the laws of your state, as long as you're on sovereign ground. There's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. You did not work to get that. Your parents didn't work to get that. Closest we come to sovereign citizens are people who live in Puerto Rico, who have the option, sort of, kinda, to become citizens. They are citizens of the United States, but whether or not they want to become a state is a different matter. But they're still under United States protections and obligations.
Right. Now, I wanted to say this because somebody brought it up, and this is one of the things of what happened to the CHOP. President Trump sent in secret police are here, but will Seattle's protesters take the bait? Jenny Durkin begging Trump's militia to be nice to her city. The earth is vibrating less. Now, we heard about this. Now, I want you to understand, I was trained for C-SMRF tactical team. What these are is the government has certain splinter cells that are set up. The president can enact them at any time. Any president can enact them. It's when the state gets so bad that literally I just have to send people in to fix the problem. You understand what I'm saying? It's like you sending the nanny to fix your home. But I know that looks like you would think, oh, that's a second or third world country. No, they're actually in Seattle. They are actually bunkered down in a certain location. But that's where he is. That's where these guys are. He is still falling in the polls. He is looking for anything that will give him a bump or will stick. Anything. The polls are not just getting better. Biden is up even in Texas before the pandemic. And literally, market speculators were convinced that Trump would easily win the re-election. And the 55% believe Biden will win. As the pandemic, March, Trump, and I'm skipping down in March, Trump will do everything in his power to distract the American public. This is the only reason that secret police were deployed in Seattle. They are here to generate a news story that is not about the pandemic. The secret police work for Donald Trump 2020 campaign. Now, so I heard about them. I heard about certain groups. Do y'all think that it was right? Because mind you, the CHOP is gone. Do y'all think it was right that the government sent in people to go get rid of the CHOP? Did y'all think it was right that the Trump administration is sending in a tactical border patrol team to Seattle, making good on President Trump's pledge to use the full force of the federal government to protect federal property? The New York Times reports the team being sent to Seattle is similar to teams that have already been deployed to Portland to fortify federal property that has been damaged by protesters. And again, if these protesters were really wanted smoke, that's NFAC, that's for the Sons of the Patriots, any militia, if you really want smoke, go do some harm to a post office. I'm not saying, I'm telling you to go do it. If you really want to find out how quick they act, go mess with the post office.
Right.
Go mess with any.
That's a fact.
Go mess with any federal building, and I promise you, you will be knocking on the right door. You will get in more trouble messing with a postman than the cops. There's a federal employee. That's a state employee. Promise you, you want the right smoke. Y'all been throwing smoke out. Go mess with the postal service. That's when you really got trouble. Go mess with the ballot box. Oh God, I can only imagine what might get SEAL Team 6.
They have been. So
you gotta understand, they didn't mind looking at y'all until they started messing with federal buildings. And they're like, okay. Now y'all feeling yourself. Now, and I want to ask this question. Was Trump right in doing that? Yes or no? I want to ask y'all three. Y'all answers. Was he right in sending in his own team, sending his own federal team into their area. I will put the story in there for y'all to read. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan be begging Trump's secret police to behave while in Seattle. Please, she says to the DHS acting Secretary Chad Wolf, don't act a fool, just do that for me. So she's just asking, like, please, I get y'all here. Please don't tear up my city. It's kind of hard to tell these type of people what to do. They come.
Right. That's yeah,
right. They're not. They don't have to answer to anybody.
Federal jurisdiction is federal jurisdiction. That they're protecting federal property, be on the alert that the state courts, the state judges, the state police, everyone will stand down when the feds arrive.
Yeah.
That you can't play the whole who has supreme authority. Well, it's kind of already set up, especially if you're attacking federal property. There's no excuse for the federal government not to be allowed to protect its own property.
Yeah. To be honest, whether I'm going to take people's opinions out of this for a second, whether we agree with it or not, whether we think it's the right thing to do or not, the thing that we have to understand is it's in the federal government's jurisdiction to protect their land and protect their property any way that they claim to see fit. So the whole thing is, whether people like it or not, it's within their jurisdiction to do that. And that's why I'm taking emotions out of it, in the sense that we saw people do this in Portland. Well, the federal people do this in Portland, so we know that's the tactic that they're going to take. This is the same tactic they're going to continue to take if this stuff happens. So it's a word of warning for people that want to do this. Even if I agree with them in spirit, the whole thing is you got to understand that people are going to do this to you. So
Right.
if you
understand the level of protection, the feds are going to protect federal property.
Oh, right.
The states are going to protect state property. Now, when it comes to the individual property, this is where the quagmire. There is no duty. States, police do not have a duty to protect the individual.
Right.
There is no duty. So bear in mind that these same people that you want to attack because there's no constitutional right of protection from the government, they could come after you or your loved one.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right. When you're when you're at the point that you have to make a decision to get out of the city or stay in the city, if you haven't been hit yet, then that's a valid thought to want to keep in the back of your mind, is to try to get somewhere where you are out of a major metropolitan area in a city.
I agree. Like I said, and I'm telling y'all, I'm just letting y'all know we're moving on to the next one. The Seattle, they did gain back control of their areas. Good for them. Again, this also shows me that if certain powers that be want to shut down the chaos, they always have the power to.
Right.
They always have it. They can always just do it. They just allowing you to play right now. But I'm telling you right now, I've seen and I've been there. Us shutting down countries. You can do a lot. Don't think that you're in the power that you think you are, because if you want to see how bad you are, it's like you keep nipping at that big dog, but one day that dog only has to bite you one time. So again, hit the right buildings. So far, y'all only been attacking stores, Walmart, but you're not dumb enough to go. Stay away from that post office. Stay away from that federal building.
Yeah.
So once you cross those gates, hell, if you tear up the security front gate, you free game. Now they have to say, we got to send the boys in. And believe me, their phones are always on standby for that beep 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 beep. Time to go to South Carolina, beep beep beep. Time to go to Texas, beep 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 beep. Time to go to New York, beep 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 beep. Go again. Look what happened in Virginia when they were taking down statues, and they threatened to say, we're gonna go into DC and take down those statues. How fast did the National Guard Army show up? Within a few hours, and was all over DC. No protesters were in sight.
Yeah.
You just got to say the right words, and they will answer you.
Yeah, and this goes for anybody. Like we claim to have protection and this, that, and the other, and I understand that that's something that people talk about. But somebody told me when I was young, it's like, yo, if you think you have a gun, somebody else has got a bigger gun. And the whole thing is, you know, there's always ways to shut things down when they want to shut things down. Period. And
I agree.
This is just built on the idea that a small group of militant people took on the government of Britain. Since then, our government has learned from the British mistake. They've learned from the British mistake. So as far as your state, federal, or local governments are concerned, they have learned. They tell you that your rights are protected by the Constitution and you have the right to protest as long as you get their permission. As long as you get their permission, you can protest. You can shut down the streets and cause inconvenience to your fellow citizens, but you cannot disrupt government operations. So we're at a time in our nation's history where, all the rhetoric aside, if you come at the police department, if you come at a state government facility, much less a federal, you will immediately be shut down because you're affecting all taxpayers.
Right.
At this point in time, again, they're trying to make you see that your most effective means of protest is actually at the ballot box.
Oh, I'll tell y'all, that might be the one day I might want to take a day off from them protests and riots or anything. Don't touch them ballot boxes. That will give whoever the right to say, yo, we have a common enemy. They did too much. So
and just so everybody knows, the government is the one entity that does not like its business fucked with. We can see it over and over and over again. You know, we might see all these people basically saying all these things about protests and whatnot, and let me put it this way: I understand the spirit of what they're saying, but when something happens like these stories, you got to understand that goes with the territory that you're marching down. So, you know, if you're gonna do this, you got to realize that comes with the territory. I'm not for or against what people do, because I realize that people have their own free will to do whatever they want, regardless of whatever I tell them, especially in a country like this. But I'm saying, just because this stuff looks okay on TV and looks okay in other places, it's a whole different line of territory when you actually go do this in the wrong place, especially in federal buildings.
Right.
That anyone who challenges the federal government, I mean, I'm going to be honest, you're considered a terrorist.
Yeah.
you are considered a traitor to this country. You no longer have the protections of the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. The Marine. Yeah.
And in most circumstances, if you challenge the state government physically, I mean, you can go into court and within the narrow confines of a lawsuit, either saying it's illegal under the federal constitution or the state constitution, you can try to sue. But at the end of the day, that costs a lot of money. But what people have to understand, the easiest way for you to exercise your protest against the government is just to vote.
Yeah.
I wanted to we got one more to hit on. Now this is going to be a little bit more we're going to be hitting on something that's pretty touchy. And if y'all feel some type of way to graphic content, I would say now is the time. I don't want you to have to watch this, but this is something that we have to look at since we're talking about accountability. And we have to ask the question, what happens when you use the system, but the system turns back on you? It's no secret that mental health is a big issue and factor in the US or just in the world. And to be honest, a lot of people aren't properly trained on how to recognize or deal with people with mental health. This is a fact. You know, you might see that a kid is acting out in a store. We don't know if they got ADHD. You know, what are some other stuff that might cause people to have a random spurt? God dang it. Bipolar, Tourette's. Oh, I actually met somebody that has Tourette's, and I felt so bad for her. And literally, she was just crying because she was literally trying to hold a conversation, but it was just the words. So she just put back on her mask. She just said, "I just don't want to talk," and shut down. But literally, they were like, you know, but some people were just making marks like she should just leave the building. But I want to go over the story over Daniel Pruitt. Have y'all heard of Daniel Pruitt?
No.
Huh?
Yes.
And he's not the only one that this has happened to. There have been other mental health people that have literally met or have met a tragic end to the system. And I want to talk about it. Like, do y'all feel that law enforcement should be trained, or are they properly trained in dealing with mental health?
Well, I feel they are not. That's okay.
As an EMT, I feel they are not.
Yeah, they are not.
Michelle, what's your thoughts? I know you done seen quite a lot. You'll come through that dang courthouse. I ain't sure she did. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, and I've lost one of my classmates. He was a service member.
There's a...
Oh, there you are.
No, exactly. Yeah, I don't think that there's agencies as they are.
Again, I can speak for let me just use myself. Y'all know I have my people.
I don't think there's one law enforcement agency in.
You're in and out there. You're in and out, Michelle.
I don't think there's one agency in any state, in any city that says they're qualified to deal with mental illness. That's been one of the most egregious things. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I think that most Renee just left the city of Dallas because the issues are greater than under medicated or over medicated. Understand these are medical issues that you have some people that want to say it's a joke. You know, how are you going to deal with a 200-pound man and a 250-pound man that's
You're breaking in and out in the show. Back out and then come right back in, okay? But I know you're saying something very vital. And I want to make sure I corner in on this story. I can tell you from my own experiences. I remember when I went to the VA and I got upset that I was telling them about my medication, but I wasn't feeling like I was getting heard properly. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying to tell people about your medication, but you feel like they're trying to tell you, like, hey, and I'm like, no, it's causing these stuff. And an officer came and he was like, listen, if you keep making any noise, I'm going to have, and he said, I'm going to have to take you down. And I'm like, what? Excuse me? And he was like, okay, come on, buddy. And I'm like, no, you can get the F on. Like, what are you doing? First of all, why are you even in this room? And one of the girls was like, well, I thought he was getting upset. And the male nurse that was there was like, nobody called for you. You know, if anything, you're breaking HIPAA because you're in a room with a patient and we're discussing something. Y'all get what I'm saying? So
Right.
It was something where but because they were like, well, we heard him get angry. Well, we're talking about medication and this is a counseling session. But the officer thought that threat. And I was like, I probably won't be coming back. And, they were like, no, Joe, you should come back. I'm like, no.
Yeah, there ain't no way you're going to come back to that.
And a lot of people get caught up in the system because the system doesn't really know how to deal with mental health at all. Let me go ahead and peel y'all over to this video. Again, this video is very, 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 it's cringeworthy. So I will put up the warning, graphic content. I will ask y'all if y'all feel a certain type of way, please do not watch this video. I just don't want you to watch it. It's going to bother you. Let me go ahead and drop this video in the chat. And actually get to it. It's a pretty rough video to watch. But I want y'all to see the final hours of this man. This is by the Washington Post. This is for adults only. It's just a really bad video. So we're going to wrap it up when we look at this. And I really want to know, can there be a better way? Can we possibly start finding a way to get people help with dealing with, law enforcement? Okay. Again, this is graphic content from the Washington Post. If you feel squeamish, please don't watch.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground, man. Get on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
move. Don't move.
Yes,
Chill out, man. Don't move, all right, man?
Yes,
Just don't
sir.
move.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
man, I saw this, yeah.
I don't know why he has his hand on.
Take your mask off.
One male in custody.
Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Tell me better to me. Look. Look. Look.
I placed a phone call for my brother to get help, not for my brother to get lynched.
Tell me better to me.
I'm in the MHA.
Yeah. Hey, who guys there?
Yeah.
Who guys there up in the post and shit? In Jesus Christ, I pray, amen. I got face. I can't
Take your mask window.
and give me your gun. I'm
Sir,
killing
why'd you break
everybody
that
in
window?
there.
Yeah, I got one in my pocket.
I'm killing everybody in that house, man. Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Give me that mask, man.
Stay down.
Give me
Stay
that
down. Get up.
I
Stay
mean
down.
it.
Yeah, he's got. You thought he meant those, huh?
Jesus Christ, I pray, man. Let me go back. Give me the handcuffs, bro. No, give me the
Yeah,
man.
you were so white
Give me
that
the
those
man.
are your bare skin.
Give me the man.
He's like, don't. I thought they
On my
were.
mama blood, they flipping over the grave. I mean that. God bless y'all, man.
Stay on the
Let
ground.
me up. Get the go back me. In Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Scoop crazy.
Scoop
Look
crazy.
at this. Get the back me. I mean it. I mean it. I mean it. You
You got it.
take this out my.
No.
I got.
Stop spitting, man.
Look, get the away from me. I mean it. Give me that
No,
gun.
you're
I
gonna
mean
sit
it.
down. You're
All right,
gonna sit
all right,
down.
take the off face.
No, I got it.
I
I got
mean
it.
it.
I'm already in there.
Try to kill me. It's Jesus good on me. My mama from over like granny back. Jesus Christ. I mean it. I mean it. Oh, I got sick.
Stop. Calm down.
Wow, they are tightening the hood on. Man.
Now, when I say got lynched, that was ongoing murder, cold-blooded, none other than cold-blooded murder. How did you sit here and directly say the man is defenseless, butt naked on the ground? He's cuffed up already. I mean, come on.
You guys get security out, please.
Family. Anytime you have an in custody death, it is taken serious. Hence why I ordered that morning on March 23rd after the arrest, a criminal investigation, which is conducted by our major crimes unit, as well as an internal investigation that ran concurrent.
Well, at least we never broke the window. I go, I bet you I do it on PCT.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't know. It's freezing out here. He's been out naked for 30 minutes. It feels pretty cold. He says he has corona. But he also, I don't know. Didn't tell you anything. You good, man?
Jesus.
Fillmore West.
Wow.
And this is why this is why when it comes to the protesting part, like this is the other side of why people protest. And that's why I have an understanding of why people do what they do. That's, in terms of the protesting part, like this is why I'm not anti-protest, because as long as we continue to have these problems, it's a normal occurrence for people to protest.
Like we find out that he had mental health.
Mhm.
He thought he was drugged up. No. He actually had mental health issues. Exactly, Sullivan. See, he sat there butt naked in the snow. He wasn't in his right mind. The man couldn't fight back. If anything, the minute they said get on the ground, he laid there butt naked on cold pavement.
And part of the reason that he was spitting was because he was freaking out because he couldn't see. So he was just, you know, when you can't see and you can't really understand what's going on, like that's anyway.
It's one of these things about it, Carol. You know, I don't know how you feel about what you just saw. I do apologize if that didn't like that.
I've seen that already, and just to give you an idea, for EMT certification, you need 6 months. And now with it being online, you're going to have between 6 months to 2 years. I don't know what the hour percentage is for getting certified for mental health online, but I think all of that stuff would come into being necessary for police to effectively do their jobs in any capacity that they can, and they need the training to do it, to be able to recognize, you know, signs and symptoms of somebody that's in crisis, you know, and not immediately classify it as a drug issue. You know, a lot of times police don't have that distinction between one or the other. And I mean, in all honesty, I don't know what their hours of training that they get for any kind of mental health or, you know, anything like that. Now, most of our ones here are first responders, so they do go through the EMT training.
Right. I wanted to say one of the things that bothered me was the family did take him to the hospital. Y'all can look that up. They took him to the hospital. They released him early. You know, you get released early, you don't have the proper medication to level you out. Can y'all see me or hear me?
Yeah.
We don't get the proper medication. We don't get the proper medication to level you out. You know, this is why I'm an advocate for therapy. I'm an advocate for medicine. I've even had it where you always said, "Hey, bro, you good? I'm checking in on you," and I'm thankful for that. You know what I'm saying? I've had times where I've had people say, "Hey, take a break, go off." I'm all for that, man.
Yeah.
I don't have no problem calling my VA mental health therapist and talk to them. But all this stuff that's going through COVID and all these things going on in the world, listen, man, some people are starting to crack. They definitely the human psyche only can handle so much at times.
Right. And now you know why, in some ways, even though I'm a progressive and you're a conservative, I'm a progressive because of things like we just saw and seeking a better way forward than all this stuff.
Right.
You know? It's just,
now,
it's crazy.
Did you feel like he didn't comply or he wasn't compliant?
No, he was overly compliant considering how cold it was. He got down as soon as he could.
Right, and I think it was the police initial fear of him claiming he had COVID that they even went with the mask and put the hood on him. Now, I'm looking right now in front of me. I've got
tightening it up, that thing behind his neck.
Yeah,
right.
They tightened that hood too. That's what made him freak out, and he started spitting, everything else like that. You know.
Right now, I'm looking at the online requirements for mental health certification. It says you need a current RN license or international equivalent, have practiced the equivalent of 2 years as a full-time RN, have completed a minimum of 2,000 hours clinical practice in mental health nursing within the last 3 years and have completed 30 continuing education hours in mental health nursing in the last 3 years.
I agree. I like. I can only speak from the military side. They teach us how to recognize whenever a soldier starts having issues, which we're supposed to take very seriously. And usually, when we start seeing any kind of symptoms of depression, anxiety, or anything, bruh, we start picking up the phone. Hey, you don't need to go get dressed in uniform. We're taking you down to the hospital. We want to have you have somebody to talk to. Do you need to talk to a chaplain? That would be a minister or whatever religious belief. Or do you need to go to a doctor? We try to get ahead of it. I've dealt with stuff. Different men and women have dealt with stuff. Suicide is a big issue. And the fact that I think what really hurts, but the brother said, I feel like I killed my brother. I'm the guy who pulled the trigger on him.
Yeah.
I called the police and told them my brother had a mental health issues.
Yeah.
So when you follow the guidelines, but the same people you call to do their job, and I'm not saying I'm bashing the police, but we definitely can tell they were just sitting out there laughing at him. He was already butt naked on tape.
You know what it is, bro? Like, when I see stuff like this, and I've got to say this, black people in America, especially in these types of cases, and people in America, but let's talk about black people in America first. Black people in America, when it comes to law enforcement and police and everything else like that, are in a heads I win, tails you lose situation. There's no daylight anywhere, you know. So now when we see these shop zones or chop zones, this is why they don't want police there. But at the same time, if you go to the chop zone and protest, you don't got police there either. So, you know, this is why, even though it makes it really weird, like usually I'm not on both sides of an issue.
Right.
But this is why I'm on both sides of the issue, because I can understand the cause and effect of both sides.
Right. I agree. Like I want people to be safe.
We need humane police practices. This is what this is all going into. You know, like we don't. That is not considered a humane police practice.
That's very true. And I'm looking at an article right now. It says, according to the Washington Post, 197 of the 999 people shot by the police last year had mental illness.
I'm just saying, like I said, man, like y'all be thinking about, like, I be trying to fight about these things, but listen, first of all, that man's constitutional right of y'all telling me, listen, one thing, y'all telling me nobody could have reached in their car and at least show him a shred of humanity and covered him up. You could have grabbed a blanket. You could have knocked on the door to somebody's house and said, hey, ma'am, can I just get a blanket? Can we wrap this man up? Y'all could have looked inside y'all back of y'all trunks. You would have found a jacket, a police jacket. I promise you could have put something over that man and covered him up.
Mm-hmm.
There was a killing sorry, honey. A couple years back, there was a police killing of a young man by the name of Tony Timba. And it was the same scenario. He was a young man going through a mental health crisis, and he was screaming before the cops actually subdued him. He didn't want to get on the ground because he didn't want to die. And on their body cams the entire time, they had this man restrained waiting for an ambulance to get on the scene. All of the police officers that were there, if I'm not mistaken, were present, actually had knees, arms, what have you, on this man's back. And the entire time he was suffocating. By the time the ambulances actually got there to get to him, he was already deceased.
Like I said, it was we have these issues. I try to tell a lot of y'all, and wrapping it up, we need better practices.
Yeah.
We need better training. I would think that instead of us buying the newest squad car or the newest, bullet or gun or tactical gear, I would rather them hire Carol and sit down, whether it got to be online or whether it be at the academy, and she's like, okay, let's go over how to deal with certain types of people with this type of issue. Stop saying everybody that y'all meet that's not acting, functional is on drugs or on PCP.
Yeah.
I forgot huh?
But this goes back to something that I've said a couple times. I feel like cops are not trained to correctly understand what's going on and de-escalate the situation. So if we're going to talk about training, we've also got to talk about de-escalation training, because that wasn't de-escalated correctly. There's holes all over our justice system when it comes to this kind of stuff. Whether it's in the prison system, whether it's outside of prison, whether it's just in day-to-day life, and we can't continue with these types of practices. It's just crazy.
Agreed.
That's right. And when it comes to the situation where you're looking at police being defunded and in some cases just walking off the job, they are the ones that have to show up first to clear the EMTs to be able to get to the scene. They have to actually be able to have the patient managed before you can just walk in there. Otherwise, that puts them at risk as well.
Like I said, you guys, I want to thank you guys for coming through. I want to definitely thank you, Yori, Carol. I definitely want to have y'all here more often for the Hour Power if you're willing to. Please let me know. Message me. I definitely want to have y'all here more often for the Hour Power. Y'all gave great insight, Carol. We definitely could use your medical expertise. Yori, you give great insight on a lot of things. And I want to bring in more people to talk about solutions. All the information that y'all need can be found below. There was no bias in any of our talks. It literally was looking at it from a solution. One, for law enforcement, probably getting better medical practices. I know some people are like, hey, that's not their job. Yes, that actually is your job. You can look that up. Is there the first one there can administer aid? Like, there's somebody there with a broke arm, and guess what? Officer on the scene, that's your job. That is your job. You can help that person. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people literally rip a cloth, tie it up on the person's arm, and raise it up, elevate it to where they can go ahead and have a little split thing. And that wasn't hard. I saw a 9-year-old do that to a 12.
Oh, looks like something.
Yeah, he froze up a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he froze. So we'll see if he comes back. Yeah, I think he's done. Anyway, it was fun.
It was. It was. Yes.
But
I mean,
like we've got to understand. Oh, BMT's back.
No. Like I said, I just want your final thoughts. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying we definitely are going to have to start moving, looking for solutions, especially with a lot of stuff. So I want your final thoughts. Go ahead, Iori, and go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the biggest thing that this stuff has taught me is there is no such thing as a binary choice when it comes to these types of things, right? It's like if you read a news article or whatever, it's like so often we come out on one side of the issue versus the other, and these things are showing us that these are complex problems that we're dealing with. There is no yes versus no answer. There's always a gray area here. And that's why, even though, I understand what people are doing with the chop zones and stuff like that, these types of situations are what create the chop zones. So we have to understand both sides of the issue and try to rectify that by putting in proper practices, a proper policy that basically makes these people feel safe. And for us to think that, oh, it's the criminal's problem or whatever, so these people are not criminals at all times. They're citizens. Of course, you have people that have to attach criminality because it's the cops versus the non-cops. But at the same time, we can't look at citizens who are doing normal things and attach criminality to them. This is why I believe in humanistic police practices and law enforcement practices. And we can't sit out here and say, oh, like we have the best police in the world and all this other BS rhetoric, because that stuff gets disproven on a daily basis. There are a lot of people that don't want to change a goddamn thing when it comes to this stuff. And I'm not one of those people. I'm saying we have to look at each and every solution possible to make this stuff better. And that also means getting rid of a lot of these semi-tough on crime prosecutors too, and DAs and everything else, because we are in a new place when it comes to dealing with this stuff. The old solutions will not work.
Carol?
I definitely agree with that.
I do too.
My takeaway would be, and to wrap up, my thoughts are just that with the police having a more humane approach to the general public, and having the ability to have extra training, that's going to carry so much better for the public, for people and themselves at large, because they're going to understand what they're looking at. They're going to understand how to approach the situation correctly. They're going to understand that this is a person on their worst day. And, they're already going to be, in a state of crisis. And for police to have the training and the ability to not only begin to treat these people on the scene in, the ways that it could really make a difference between somebody going home and somebody going to the hospital. It's going to be better for everybody all the way around the board. Yeah. So that's my thoughts. I appreciate you, BMT. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate
I want to say one last thing also. Just because we train these cops to be different, or whatever law enforcement personnel to be different, you also have to realize that these things that we're doing now are not going to change themselves overnight. There's a whole culture that has to be rewired. And there's a lot of people on the force that might have internal biases that they might have to put at the door. And that's going to take time. But the whole thing is, all I know is that what we are doing now cannot continue, regardless. Look, just because we put in new policies in place, whatever, this stuff is not going to change overnight. But the thing is, what we really have to deal with a lot of people is bias training, because they've been taught to think a certain way for so long that it's going to take a certain amount of time to rewire that behavior. That's the part that people really aren't talking about. It's like, okay, like we need to do this, we need to do that, whatever. What we really need to do is we really need to understand and evaluate the law enforcement people and understand what biases they come into the situation with. Because that's hardwired. And that's the part that really needs to be dealt with. And hopefully these things will help in doing that, but it will take time.
I agree. And I ain't got nothing to say because y'all said it. Like I said, y'all. I don't want y'all to think that this is like that business minded talk is only for just blacks. This is for everybody. Business is business. And like I said, Yori always was good to come up on my panel. Carol, she's like my heart, you know what I'm saying? So we don't always agree, and yet me and her still have some of the best conversations on stuff. And she will say, Joe, look at this. She'll send me articles to look into. And I thank her for that because she's looking for a humane thing. She cares too much. I hate that she does sometimes. But that's just her heart. And knowing that she's an EMT, I understand why. Yori goes so hard for, like just one.
Oh,